Hi, welcome to MG Life Hacks. I am your host. MG Life Hacks is a channel that I created for folks like myself that have myasthenia gravis. If you're not familiar, myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular disease that causes extreme weakness. There are several different forms. I have generalized myasthenia gravis, so I have extreme weakness, and trying to manage that medical condition can be pretty challenging just due to the muscle weakness. I also created this channel because I have, over several years now, had a number of experiences and found different things that help me in my day-to-day life in personal, professional capacity. And I wanted to take that experience and share it with others because I don't think there's a lot of applied knowledge, I guess, with myasthenia gravis patients, because each of us is going to be a little different in our experience and our challenges. But I really just want to take mine just in case it helps anybody else in a similar scenario. That being said, I will dive in, and yes, I will be referring to my pages of notes because I have a lot of points I want to cover for this. This video is hopefully going to help someone that is going to make an accommodations request, or depending on experience, it might help with requesting medical leave or intermittent medical leave for certain medical conditions. It's pretty basically tied to all three. It's also, for context, at a company that you have been working at for weeks, months, years, that you have an established employment with. Maybe the leave just came up that you're going to have to take, or maybe you have a new manager that you're reporting to, or maybe your illness changed and you have to modify it or update it. There are some steps that I have that will help prepare you in terms of the actual steps for the accommodation itself. That's one segment. The other segment is different things you can do in case it becomes messy. Diving in, what you want to do is first you need to figure out the type of accommodations that you need, if you haven't already. Ask Jan, askjan.org is a fantastic resource for this. They have lots of different suggestions depending on diagnoses. You also want to take into consideration your job. No one's going to know the physical demands and mental and emotional demands of it like you. Your doctor won't. They'll be signing off on the accommodations request. However, they are not going to know that you need that until you can, get the idea from askjan.org. Hey, this would really help me a lot in my work. I would be able to work longer periods so I can keep working full time, that type of thing. Then you can take that to your doctor, ask them if they're comfortable signing off on it. They'll say, yes, you're a genius for researching this. Thank you so much for making this so much easier for me. And then you can go from there. But you do want to try and get some ideas as to what tools will help. Will an ergonomic setting help? Things like that. You want to compile that. Then take it to your doctor. Ask them their comfort level. Then the next step that you want to do, if you haven't done this already, get copies of your evaluations. Your yearly evaluations, your semi-annual, positive feedback from coworkers, managers, other departments that you have worked with or are working with. You want those emails. You want maybe like there's probably an intranet, like a company driven, equivalent of Facebook, but not actually Facebook. Something like that where it's social and you give feedback on each other and you have a lot of positive mentions made in your name. Print those out. Keep them. There are also possibly projects that you're doing on top of your actual work itself, anything that you're doing on top of your workload, like volunteering to help other coworkers out when they're struggling, or helping out other departments when they need an extra set of hands or an extra set of eyes. Things that you contribute or contributed to. You want past and present. You also want to try and get a copy of your job description and the expectations that go with it, because that will also give you and your doctor a clear idea of the demands of that position. Are there any essential duties that you can't perform? Maybe there's a workaround that you need in order to perform them. My patient cannot travel for any reason. My patient needs to be in a fully remote work environment setting. That type of thing. It'll just help you a lot in determining what accommodations will help you do your job. You also want to get any quantifiable data showing your workload, just to show how much you're doing right now. Trust me, it'll pay off. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask and say, I need accommodations for a serious medical condition. And divulge information as you see fit. You are not required to give them the nitty-gritty and the personal detail at all beyond a certain point. You do to the degree that you're requesting the accommodations, but if they are asking you, well, how much time is that going to take? How much is it, if they're starting to give you a little bit of a hard time, or they're starting to get really personal about it, do your best to try and keep it on track. And by that I mean, what do I need to do to get these accommodations? I really need these in order to do my work. And help them stay focused on that particular ask. You also want to keep copies of emails of this ask for every single person and their response that you make the accommodations request to. You might have to go to you'll probably have to go to human resources, and they may or may not have you work with a third party type of administrator. You also want to begin your timeline. It starts here. And keep track of what happens from this point on. From here on out, get everything in writing that you possibly can. Everything. If it's in a meeting and it's being stated verbally, I would encourage you to send out, if they don't send one out already, per our conversation emails. You'll want to start keeping track of the things that are stated to you so that everybody has a record of what was stated at that meeting, who stated it, the context in which it was stated. You will probably want, I do this, create a folder on your laptop at work and one at home in the event that you were wrongfully terminated. That way you have different items that you need to show to different parties to show that you were wrongfully terminated. Just in case. It can't hurt. In that folder, I have mine labeled accommodation. You'll want to have sections like feedback, comments, workload. Because no matter who says what after this point, all of it is going to be related to one of those three things. There might be more. I just couldn't think of any earlier when I drafted this outline. But you'll definitely want to log everything on your timeline, because you'll want to be able to identify a causal type of relationship if that's what things turn out to be. Things to keep an eye out for and print and track on your timeline: the passive aggressive types that make comments here and there and everywhere that are unnecessary, that are not constructive, that have to do with your accommodations request or your serious illness. Things like the blatantly, obviously inappropriate thing, which is, well, what do you expect us to do with this additional the work that you're not completing. If you're requesting a 40-hour work week, what are we going to do with all the work that doesn't get completed because of your illness? That is wildly inappropriate. Per our conversation, the reason you want to do that is you want it in writing that that person stated X, and it also allows that person to respond. I'm not saying those responses will be articulate, well-based, or warranted, but it does allow that person to respond back. You do not always have to respond to those. Sometimes those types just want to get a reaction out of you, to get an emotional response. They want to trigger you, and they want to get you talking, and they want you to lash out so that they have some reason to justify writing you up or putting you on a performance improvement plan and trying to push you out. So you can send that per our conversation email, and you'll see things start to build if you're dealing with that type of person. If it doesn't shut them down and shut them up right away, all the more reason to send the per our conversation emails and cover yourself. I even had one person say, your illness disqualifies you for this position that I had been doing for a year. It is surreal what will come out of some people's mouths. And it's verbal, so during a meeting, it's easier for them to just say it and then turn around and say, I never said that. It's terrible. I would never say that. But with a per our conversation email, it pretty much locks and loads. Like, no, you said it. You said it. No matter what they come back with in an email or verbatim, it still gives you, good footing to say, hey, this is my record of what was said and how I interpreted what was stated. The other thing I want to keep an eye out for is a change in tone. You're getting positive feedback or no feedback. And then all of a sudden, within weeks of your accommodation request, or in some case, maybe even a month, all of a sudden you're getting a negative tone. The person that was pleasant to you is now acting negatively to you. And sometimes it's a change in a workload that you'll notice. Sometimes they're questioning your quality of work all of a sudden. These are sudden things. I'm assuming it's sudden. And you can absolutely mention that at the time they're discussed. And when you're keeping an eye out for these things, after you make your accommodations request, wait and watch. The people driving issues will come forward if they're there, and they will come forward in an unconstructive way. A tactic that I highly recommend is letting the silence hang. Let it hang. Let it be there. Ultimately, when people make remarks about your performance or your quality of work or comments about your illness that are unwarranted, let the silence hang. What they should be responding with is something constructive or elaborating on it. And if they make a comment that's negative in nature and they don't follow it up with some kind of substantiation, hey, I noticed your decrease in performance on XYZ metric, let that silence hang. They should be coming back with, I really wanted to, get together and focus on a game plan moving forward to try and help you. That's what they should be saying. I noticed a decrease in X. I want to help you out. If instead, during that silence, regardless, they should be speaking first. If they come back with a helpful tone, cool. That's fantastic. If they don't, I just said I'm not happy with your quality of work and you're not saying anything. Do you not want to defend yourself? That says a lot about who you're dealing with and what type of person you're dealing with. You can just say, well, I was waiting for you to elaborate. Do you have some examples that you can show me? Or, do you have the training documents? Or, if they come back with something like, well, this was said during a meeting and everybody heard it but you. Per our conversation, jot that down. When I requested training materials, you said there weren't any available. You said it was communicated during a meeting, but I didn't see any communication after that meeting to that effect. Just to defend yourself. And also keep note of what they are doing verbally versus in writing. You can also ask them at times like that, could you please clearly communicate the expectations? Just moving forward, could you please communicate them clearly in writing? It'll better allow me a chance to meet that expectation. That's absolutely fair to ask for. And if they give you any, well, you should know this already. Per our conversation, you said I should know this already after I asked for training materials, after you said you were disappointed with my quality of, whatever. You're starting to see the pattern, I hope. I hope I'm articulating this well. There's a lot. But I do, again, I just want to try and help anybody that might be having this experience out there too. If they are adding to your workload and nobody else is in a similar volume, you're getting a ton of extra work, everybody else is only getting a little blurb, that type of thing. If you're noticing that, take note of that and start getting things in writing. You can ask for a clearly outlined plan. Hey, how do you want me to absorb this? How would you like me to prioritize this additional work? And I would use that term, additional work. How would you like me to prioritize this additional work? How quickly of a turnaround did you have in mind for this? And if they say, well, it's up to you to figure it out, we just assign it. You need to figure it out. You're a senior level. You should be able to figure this out. Can you not figure this out? I'm asking for help because you're assigning work on top of my regular workload. If that's an issue, please let me know who I need to work with to help strategize. We all have the same common goal, which is to do well. I assume you want me to do well, right? I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to ask for these things, but some people don't feel that way. So when you start questioning things and saying, hey, I need some support, I need some learning materials, if they shut that down, that's a big red flag. And you can call that out by asking questions. Well, I wanted to try and prioritize this. I wanted to try and work this in with my regular workload. And you wouldn't allow me the opportunity because I asked for these materials and you refused to give them to me and you were condescending instead. I wouldn't say it exactly like that though. You can also ask why you were chosen if you're feeling ambitious. I was not disappointed. Why was I chosen for this? Why was it being assigned to me? Am I getting additional resources to do this? And when is that, get the details, ask questions. Because again, you're all going for the common goal. And if they're trying to be pushy and trying to push you out, it's going to become pretty apparent, especially if you're doing the per our conversation emails and tracking things on your timeline. And you can also ask if the additional, how is this additional work going to be put in my metrics? How is this going to be measured? How is my performance going to be measured with this in mind? Just to give you, again, a clear picture of how and why things are coming your way. It can't hurt to ask. You can't force anybody to do anything, but you can definitely give them pause in their path, whatever they're choosing to do. And again, print everything that you possibly can. Get everything in writing you possibly can. Put it in your files, in your personal, and at work. For the abusive types that you might unfortunately run into, there is a content creator on YouTube, TheWizardOfWords, and I think very highly of him. I learned quite a bit, and it's free content. He does have paid content, which is absolutely outstanding, But the free content is also amazing. I got through so many negative experiences because he has a way of teaching you how to communicate clearly, professionally, diplomatically, even in some cases, depending on the circumstances, but all kinds of different circumstances. But he articulates it in a really, really good way. And he helps translate it into, corporate speak. It is different. It's very different. You can't be blunt. You can't really call people out in a certain way. You have to, go about it in a certain type of language and format, and, maintain relationships in different positions when it comes to types of conflict. Outstanding. But I highly recommend going to his page as well, just to check things out at least. But the abusive types of people that you might run into, like I mentioned, the one who provokes before with inappropriate content, you can poker face it as much as humanly possible, if you can. It's a very emotionally charged conversation. Sometimes you just get what that type of person is trying to do is trying to provoke you into an emotional response. They're trying to get you hysterical and stressed out because they're awful human beings. Also because they're trying to get you to react in an unprofessional way. They're trying to get you to react in a way that would allow them to escalate things and push you out. Don't allow them that opportunity. Poker face it, stay quiet, let the silence hang. You can also, if you're feeling assertive, you can call it out. I don't understand how you think that comment is appropriate. I was waiting for you to elaborate. Or if it's, which has happened to me, if it's a meeting that is about an entirely different topic, it's about performance. We're not happy with your performance. It's, we're not getting as much from you as we'd expected, as much as you typically give, which is, you're more aware of the circumstances. But if it's absolutely outlandish, the statements that they're making, it's like, ever since your illness, you've just been, downward trending. That opinion has no place in this meeting's context. That is definitely a per our conversation email, because it draws a direct path from that comment that was made about your illness in relationship to your performance. That's a big no-no. So it's that type of person that's going to be trying to provoke you. That's why they're trying to provoke you. The gaslighter. That's not what I said. That's not what happened. You misunderstood what I said or what I was trying to communicate. I hate that. So again, those are per our conversation types of communications. By doing that, you're scrutinizing them as much as they are scrutinizing you. You're making them as uncomfortable, if not more, by calling them out on that. The more negatively they respond to perfectly reasonable requests is a pretty big indicator of the type of person that you are dealing with. It'll also help provide a clearer picture to human resources or your attorney, God forbid, if it comes to that, or the unemployment office if you're wrongfully terminated and you need to show, no, I'm not incompetent, they just fired me because I have an illness. You'll have things to justify and show up and back up what you're saying directly. You'll show a direct relationship. The other thing that I can definitely recommend, based on my personal experience, is you are well within your rights to ask for all meetings to be recorded. Well within your rights. In fact, it's actually something that would benefit them and you. It would not benefit the people that are trying to push you out. Even if it's a combination of the above and human resources is in on it, it's still going to put added pressure on the individuals running those meetings to behave and speak in a professional tone, a professional, any kind of comments they make that are inappropriate, boop, just got recorded. So it's going to make them much more aware of what they're saying and the context in which they're stating it. It's something I definitely recommend, especially if you have the gaslighter. There's, oh, I never said that. You misunderstood me. Oh, well, could we please record these meetings moving forward? I mean, that would really actually help me out now that I think about it, because it would help clear up any, prevent any misunderstandings on my part. And it would be a great source for me if I need to refer back to it for questions I might have later. Maybe we discussed it during the meeting. I can just listen to the recording. I can refer back if I need clarity on something that we discussed, especially if they're having lots of meetings circling around your performance. Or, you don't need all these per our conversation emails. You don't need all these recordings. You don't need to refer back to, like, hey, I'm asking for these things because you're saying you have problems with my communication, my request for training, my request for additional information, my request for support. I'm trying to keep track of these things. And if you're not going to help me with these perfectly reasonable requests, okay. But most places will do it because it's a free option to record the meeting. And it also allows human resources to check in as well in case there are any issues that you report, that they can look into those types of things. With all of this going on, which is a lot, and I'm not even talking about the emotional aspect of it because it is incredibly stressful, be extremely patient with yourself. I can't even count the number of times that I left conversations and meetings and the day after, or, you're trying to digest what's happening. I wish I'd done X. I wish I had said X. I wish I responded with blah, blah, blah. It's okay. No one is going to be perfect, especially when they're being threatened at work while they're trying to do their work. It's okay. Be patient with yourself. Try and just continue your timeline, noting everything, logging everything. Be really understanding with yourself, and later when you're able to, try and take your experience and learn from it. It is not a natural, you're not going to be a natural, well, maybe you are. Maybe you're going to be a natural at all of this. I sure wasn't. I'm a lot better now, but it takes some experience, and no one's going to be able to launch into it and just gracefully, ice skate their way through it. It's messy, and it's a learning experience. But I would also say, sometimes in my experience, it is unfortunate that you may hear comments that are disparaging about your illness, about your work that you're getting done, the quality, all that stuff. And you might hear it from people that you admire and respect. And it's heartbreaking to hear that from people that you admire and respect and understand, and start to see what it is they're actually doing, and they are trying to actually push you out. And sometimes they'll even do it with a smile and, I'm doing this because it doesn't seem like a good fit for you. It's best for you. No, you know what's best for you. But it's a little gut-wrenching when you hear it from people that you respect. Give yourself time to grieve the relationship that you thought you had with this person. And just, give yourself some time and space for that. I think it matters a lot in the whole process of it. Next, we go over to human resources. This is where that timeline and some examples in your well-organized categories will come in handy. Human resources is there for the company. They are not there for you, but you can absolutely leverage some support from or with them. You've already reached out to them for the accommodations request. Now you want to reach out to them after you have a couple of examples of each issue, which, feedback issues, comments issues that you've heard that are inappropriate, workload that has gone up, and you have solid examples, at least, one of each. Maybe not even necessarily. Sometimes all it takes is like a giant red flag of one. You want to take that and you want to reach out to human resources, and you want that example to be in writing. I have some growing concerns with some events that have taken place since requesting my accommodation. I was not made aware of expectation for this role prior to my accommodation request. I was not aware of expectation. It was never communicated to me that would have allowed me to do it. That has also happened, unfortunately, where I wasn't aware there was an expectation at all because it wasn't communicated to me. I requested the accommodation. All of a sudden, hey, you haven't been doing XYZ. What is that? It was never communicated to me. I can't meet the expectation if it's not communicated to me. That's just how reality works. You can let them know I received no feedback like the negative feedback that I am currently getting prior to my accommodation request. I requested training, I requested examples, and they have not been given to me. I was assigned additional work out of proportion with my coworkers. You can also refer to your peers too. If you have peers that have similar titles and they're doing similar things like, hey, all these seniors have this type of work, except you are going to have 2 people that report to you. What? That's additional work. And that's outside of the other types of work that the other seniors are doing. It's disproportionate. So you want to take one of those examples or 2. You don't have to give them everything. Don't give them everything, only because they are very pressed for time. They should be able to put 2 and 2 together, and they should be able to see the direct relationship to what you are stating, which is, ever since I made my accommodation request, I'm being targeted in a negative way. When you present it to them in that email, hey, I have some growing concerns with these events that have happened since I made my accommodation request. I just wanted to make you aware of what's taking place. You're not telling them what to do. You're not going to appear entitled. You're just saying, hey, I just want to make you aware of these things that are going on, because ever since I made this accommodation request, they're giving me nothing but negative feedback. Your examples. Just to paint the picture for them. And then let them drive the bus. Keep me posted. Oh my gosh, let me touch base with so-and-so. Understand that they're going to try and do damage control to protect the company, but it also might benefit you. Maybe the person with the boot on your neck will decide to let up. When other people get scrutinized by human resources with solid examples showing a direct relationship and correlation from the accommodation request to all of a sudden you're trying to push this person out, obviously, because you have all these records that you printed out of your evaluations that are all meets expectations or above. You're also taking, look how many things they got thank yous from different departments and different projects that they help with, and all of a sudden it's just going straight down the tubes after this accommodations request. That's very suspicious. So they are going to try and get that person to stop, hopefully, but it might alleviate some of that pressure or the types of communication that you're getting that are inappropriate or unwarranted. All of this being said, when you are questioning other people during all this, they will feel scrutinized. I know you feel scrutinized if you're going through this like I have, and I sure did. By giving examples to human resources, they will feel like they are being scrutinized too. Human resources will feel scrutinized because you're pointing out something that is occurring in the workplace that should not be occurring. By calling them out each and every time, they will feel it. They will feel the pressure coming from you. And that's stressful for them because they're trying to push you out, and you're not gonna, just sit back and let them abuse you. Hopefully, it takes a different kind of strength to do it. And it unfortunately, you don't have control over the situation, over who's going to do what or say what. However this winds up or shakes out for you, worst case scenario, you lose your job. Something that helped me try and keep things in perspective was understanding it's a job. It is a tremendous amount of pressure when you have a medical illness and you're trying to just do a job and just work. It is just a job. It's something I take very seriously, but it is just a job, and it is tied to my medical benefits. I will probably find another job because I know I was diligent. I did my homework. I did my planning. I really, really tried. And even when, I felt like I failed, I didn't. You're not failing because someone's discriminating against you for no reason. It's not your fault. You're not failing. If you lose your job, it's because someone is doing something really unfair and illegal. You can't control that stuff. You can do this stuff to try and help prepare you or your attorney also to look back on later and say, you know what, I really did try. I really tried. You're doing your homework and you're trying by trying to find solutions online and looking at videos like this. And I have no doubt that you've already looked at a bunch of other things that I looked for and resources that I went to try and protect myself and try and keep my job. And I don't think a lot of employers realize that when you have an employee that has a medical condition and you cause a flare-up because of all this stress, you're locking them in. If you really want them to go, they have to not be flaring up because of all this stress, because flaring up means they don't have the energy to update their resume. It means they don't have the energy to do the job interviews because they're just trying to hang on at that point. I don't think a lot of employers realize that. But if you are experiencing things like this, I can relate. I am very sorry. You have my sympathy. I hope that some of my experience translates in some way, shape, or form, and you didn't just waste a ton of time listening to me yap. But if you were not helped by this, I am tremendously sorry. I would say good luck, keep on looking. You will find the help and support that you need. You are not alone, unfortunately. There are a lot of different Facebook groups that might help you as well. But do the best you can with what you have and just go from there. I truly hope you have a good day. Take care.